I can, Juliette, because when these go viral, I don't know what's going to happen, but there's going to be some pretty unhappy people. But I don't think anybody has the right to take my videos down from YouTube. Uh, um, and these messages are for you, from me to you. Uh, and that's because I haven't seen you in 2 years, and I want to tell you what's happened over those 2 years. As I said, probably during the middle of the time that we were in court, the judge said that I should start seeing a therapist. Uh, I don't know who made this decision, whether Lori's lawyer or the judge or whatever. I think the judge did because I think he had the plan to open up the line of communication between me and you and me and your mother. Because I'm sure your mother blew her top when she found out, uh, especially since I turned down the deal that they were trying to make me to not have a trial. And I probably cost your mother quite a lot of money by going to that trial for 2 days. 2 days in a court of law can cost you a good $5,000, $7,000, and even more, really. Sometimes. And since I had Medicare, it only didn't really cost me much, just a few dollars a visit. And I certainly wanted to talk to somebody because I was talking to everybody. I was chewing people's ears off. In fact, I was wearing my friends out to the point where they didn't want to hear it anymore. And, you know, all I would do would be talk about it. That's all I would talk about, because it was just the only thing in my life, really, at that point, is that I've lost my daughter, And and what I didn't know was that all the time I was seeing you over those 3 years, and maybe even before then, I don't know, but your mother at some point had indicated to me that you had been seeing a therapist all that time, and she had always criticized me because I had criticized psychiatrists and therapists and psychologists, and there's a lot of reasons why. Because I think there's a lot of ones that are there just to sit there and go, and take hundreds and hundreds of dollars from you or from your insurance company. And I still think that's the case. But if it's not costing me any money, I'd love to have somebody intelligent to talk to. And that's the other thing. It's one thing to have somebody to talk to. The other thing is to have somebody who's intelligent to talk to that can understand you. The downside of it is that he never met me before. And how do you pick one? Well, I just picked one. This guy who was nearby. His name was Dave, and he's a nice guy. And if I didn't like him, I would have left, but I didn't. And I had to really explain, tell him the story of my life. I had to unload, almost 60 years of my life, 58 years of my life, and I also had to tell him about these two people that he never met, and never did meet, you and your mother, and try to, make a decision based on that. I got a lot more out of some of my friends because they knew you and they knew your mother and they saw me with you, and they knew your mother, and so I had a good network of friends who I could get advice from, but I had to be careful not to wear them out. Well, the one thing that you can tell a psychiatrist, which is the same thing you can tell a doctor, is that I'm not going to lie to you because what have I got to lose? If I lie, I've got a lot to lose, you know? So, I may as well tell you the truth, the good, the bad, the everything. Because if I don't, I'm never going to solve this problem and I'm never going to get any help for myself if I need help. So, he trusted me pretty much early on, and I think after a few months, he I think he believed me. He didn't. He's not allowed to make a diagnosis of your mother or diagnosis of you, but I can tell him what happened, and he's seen plenty of families before, so he he gets the idea, and he can tell when someone's lying and somebody's not lying, and so on and so forth. But there wasn't a lot to go on because what was I supposed to tell him? I emailed your mother for 6 months, and she never emailed me back. And one of the reasons why I didn't call her was I didn't call her in the beginning because I felt it was awkward. But the reason why I didn't call her in the long run was because what if you answered? That could have been a violation of the order of protection. And I felt stronger and stronger as we went along that your mother would have no reservations about putting me in jail. There even got to a point where I told my therapist, I sometimes kind of worry about my life a little bit, I mean, I don't really think so, but if she's willing to do what she did, and she wants me out of her life, and I won't stay out of her life, there's a good way to get somebody out of your life, and it's no joke. It's no joke because when you have no information, when you have no communication, when you have no information, when you're not talking to somebody, everything goes through your mind. You don't trust anybody. You don't, you think everything, and sometimes you might be right, you might be wrong. You're so confused about the whole thing. And let me show you this. This is like I just went all okay because I didn't get there. See, Lori, Lori, Lori. Say, and then you see me. She'd write back. I just wrote her. And let's at least get to the first update. Let's get to the first letter I wrote her. Dear Lori, I've chosen to email you on my progress with my therapist, as talking on the phone may be too awkward at this time. I can give you his name and number, but as you can expect, he will tell you nothing more than confirm that I am seeing him. Now he says that you can't even do that. Well, if you need proof, I'll get it somehow. No reason to lie at this juncture. Here's what he suggested. Here's what he suggested I relay to you first. Because of the order of protection, I have not been able to say a word to you or Juliette, and the first thing I want to say is how very sorry I am. Not for what I was accused of in the order of protection, but for the incidents leading up to it. I was very mean and condescending to you. I said many things I shouldn't have. But if I had any idea it would lead to what happened in these last 8 months, I would have thought 3 times about it, 1,000,000 times about it. Anything I said to you or Juliette. I'm not going to make this long, but the other thing that you must be assured of is that no matter what the verdict was, No order, 1 year, 5 years, forever. In no circumstances would I ever be a threat to you, or God forbid, my precious daughter. In some ways, I think you know that. I'm sure you do. I have gone through the whole cycle of emotions, but as you may not believe, and you may not believe me, but I am not angry. What's happened has happened, and I only look towards the future and hope one day Juliette can be in my life again because I want to help her make her life a better life. Anger, hate, revenge, they are all poisons and will do nothing for me going forward. I have to accept what is, not what I think should have been or should be. Having said that, perhaps Juliet will have a change of heart reading my letters, which I do hope she reads. I have no objection to you scanning them ahead of time to make sure I'm not trying to manipulate or say anything bad about you. One last thing. 4 days before the last day of the trial, I went to visit my best friend in college, Gene Garnes, who went on, probably shouldn't have said his name, but I did, so whatever. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Who went on to have a similar career as me at NBC Radio that I had at ABC. You may even have met him, I don't know. He was a big union guy. He came up to our picket line in 1998, the nicest guy in the world. And then he tells me he has stage 4 throat cancer. It ripped me apart. It made my problems seem meaningless compared to his. I would take his cancer away from him if I could. I gained a lot of perspective that day. I'll talk to you next week.